All right, how are you? It's David with our third episode of Rockipedia. Rocking it for you. Lots of fun stuff coming up. We're going to have the third installment and last installment for right now of Who the Hell is David Miller, telling you a little bit about me. We'll wrap up my arriving in Bend and get to the current day for right now, people. We're also going to have a Look What I Found, an artist I think you'll love. In case you missed it, music news on all kinds of people. Mick Mars, Wolfgang Van Halen, David Lee Roth, Ozzy, they'll all be included. And a first. You're getting it first. A new movie segment that we're going to be doing from time to time. So, lots of fantastic stuff headed your way. Brought to you by the Northside Bar and Grill, and we thank them for that. Make sure you subscribe, hit the bell, do all the things that they tell you to do, and support. Share us with your friends. They'll think you're cool too. All right. Thanks for joining us. All right. Hello, and welcome to Rockipedia with David Miller, episode number 3. Brought to you by our friends over there at the Northside Bar and Grill. You can find them at northsidebarfun.com. Thank them when you see them for hanging out with me and sponsoring this. Hi, kids. So we are here with episode number 3. Applauds to everyone for making it this far. Yes. So we are back into the episode. I already told you what we're going to be doing later, but right now we have to do this thing right here. Oh, who the hell is David Miller? Well, that's me. And we are on to part 3, which I think will be the final part of this learning about Dave lesson. 3 parts is plenty, right? So let's see if we can wrap it up today. I've got a few fun things for you. So we have moved from Portland. I was about to move from Portland to Bend, I believe, or maybe I just moved to Bend. Started my radio career. So the transition to Bend was interesting. It's an interesting story, actually, and it may take me a minute, but that's why you're here, right? Okay. So I get the job offer from Bend, but it's not the job I want. The job I want is on a rock station called X94. But that was not to be right away. So I get the offer, and here's the story. So there was a gentleman, and all you local people that have been here longer than 5 years or 6 years, you're probably going to know some of this story. When I moved to Bend, I was in conversations with a gentleman by the name of Mike Skull. So he contacted me after he heard my tape, and my tape was based around rock and roll, because what does Dave do? He rocks and he rolls. So he thought it was great, and he saw a spot for me on his station. He wanted to talk to me about that. But his station was full up, and there was no reason to replace anybody at that moment. So he gave me another option. He introduced me to a gentleman by the name of Michael Cook, who is still a good friend of mine. I love Michael and his wife Colleen very much. And they were partnered up, and he was running the country station that was owned by the same group. And there was an opening over there to do a nighttime request show called The Party Crowd. And I took that gig. It was part-time. It was only like 20 hours a week. It wasn't very much. It was like 2 or 3 hours a night tops, 5 nights a week. Hosting a call-in request show. Remember those on the radio? What? And I didn't want to come into the market, and the first time anyone knows who David Miller is on a country station. I like country music. I will tell you, there's a certain brand of country music or certain eras of country music and a few particular artists that I really enjoy. In general, I don't listen to country all the time, but I do enjoy some country music once in a while. So I thought, I can do this, but I'm not going to do it as David Miller. So I was really creative. I did it as D.W. Miller because it sounded country to me. So for about 6 months, well, maybe not that long, probably 4 months, 4.5 months, I hosted the Party Crowd with D.W. Miller on 103 Country. And it was fun. It was fun. The callers were great. Some of them were regulars. I had this one crazy drunk guy that used to get all tanked up and call me every night. Every night he'd call and usually request the same song. That's the thing about the repeat caller drunk guys and girls. They tend to repeat the same songs and tell you the same stories. I do the same thing. I do. I tell the same stories. You'll probably see it. I'll probably forget that I told you a story, and later in another episode, I'll tell you again. And we'll just say it's for new people, all right? All right. So so I take this gig, I do the country thing. Now, unbeknownst to me, when I take that gig, Mike Scull is very ill. He had a form of leukemia, I believe, and he was not long for this earth, and he knew it. I didn't know this when I took the country job. I just thought, well, I'm going to take this country job, and Mike sees something happening over at the rock station. I'll end up over there eventually. So I get to town, I'm doing the country thing. Mike pulls me aside one day, and he had another person, I'm not going to name her. He had another person that was doing the midday shift on the rock station and helping him program the station. He was getting to a point where it was hard for him to be there physically. And that's, I think, why he told me, because I'd been here a month, maybe 2 months before he actually broke the news to me of what was going on. And he said his plan was to bring me in, get me on staff, get people to know me, get people to hopefully like me. No, usually people like me until they don't. Isn't that funny how that works? And then hopefully be able to move me over and have me take his spot at the station, which included being the program director, which this other person was currently doing as a music director, but certainly had her eyes on what Mike was going to be vacating. And none of this was in a morbid way. Mike was very upfront with all of us. He was like, you know what, this is the hand I've been dealt, and we have to play it the best we can. And he really loved X94. He really loved that station. He had put a ton of work into it, and he didn't want it to just disappear. So I was excited and freaked out and uncertain about the whole thing all the way across the board. But it did end up happening. Things fell into place. And I ended up being, at first I was the midday person and running the station. And there was a individual guy, Mike Woodman Johnson, doing mornings. And the thought was that we needed a 2-person morning team. That's kind of what the vibe was in the market. That's kind of what the popular thing was at the time. And we felt like we had a chemistry that could work. So after about a month and a half or so of being on middays, they moved me into the mornings, and we started the Extreme Morning Show with Woodman. And guess who I was? Sasquatch. So how does that happen? How does Dave become Sasquatch? Well, it was Woodman's fault. And something many people may not know. There may be a couple people out there, and I would love to hear from you in the comments or email me at rockipediapodcast@gmail.com. If you remember and heard the first couple breaks of the Extreme Morning Show, probably maybe the first hour, we may have done 4 breaks where I was called Termite. I shit you not. Termite. Woodman, Termite. There was a thing for a second, and as soon as Woodman said, it's the Extreme Morning Show with Woodman and Termite, he said, nope, that's not going to work. We got to find something else. And I've always liked the name Sasquatch, the word Sasquatch. I kind of just thought it was cool. And so I spit that out. I said, what about Sasquatch? And he's like, I love it. I love it. That's you. You're Sasquatch. Now, here's the funny thing. I'm about 5'7". At the time, I had hair, but not a lot. It wasn't long hair or anything at that point. It was kind of short. I'm 5'7", not really a hairy guy at all, Woodman was about 6'2", full beard, hairy chest, manly man. but I'm the one that's called Sasquatch. We thought the irony would be hilarious, and he had already established himself in this market as Woodman, and he was very well liked. Still is. I still talk to people about him all the time, and no matter how many times I call him an asshole, they will not hear me. No, I'm kidding. I love Mike, and we still talk occasionally, not as much as I would like to, and I don't think as much as he would like to either. But you know how life gets. So me and Woodman are doing the Extreme Morning Show. It was so much fun, people. I'm not even gonna pretend. I was having a blast. It was the tail end of fun radio. It was the tail end of morning shows like we were doing, where you had a couple people on the air that were kind of driving the show, but you had all these other people. We had producer Terry Heiser, who is now doing radio in Reno. That guy would do anything we asked him to do, and we were horrible about asking him to do stuff. And we had all kinds of great adventures. We did stunts up at the monster truck things and the motorcycle things up at the fairgrounds. We got to host concerts. I remember one of the things I got to do was bring Dawkin and Slaughter to Bend through the radio station, through the morning show, for a really cool contest where we set up a couple of folks here in Bend as rock stars for the day. They got to take a limo. They got to have lunch with Slaughter. They got to do a meet and greet with Slaughter and get merchandise. And then the guys in Slaughter, just out of the goodness of their hearts, invited them to dinner too. So these folks and myself spent all day with Slaughter. We got to just hang out with those guys. They were really cool dudes. And they came into this market, and, you know, this was 2001, I think. You know, their career was not peaking at that point. And they could have very well, and here's the thing. Slaughter and Dawkin. Slaughter were awesome. They were amazing. They bent over backwards to be kind to us and our listeners. And the people that came to the show, they had a blast. They really did. Dawkin, total opposite. Total opposite. Don Dawkin was a dickhead. A horrible dickhead to everybody around us. Everybody. Wouldn't talk to people, acted above it all. He was pissed off that he had to play a little place like Bend. You could just tell. It just seeped out of him. Jeff Pilson was the only guy in that band that was kind and nice and spent time with us. I think Reb Beach just was over it. He was the guitar player at the time. He just seemed distant. He didn't seem like he interacted with much of anybody. They played their asses off. The band sounded great. Don sounded like Don. You know, Don hasn't sounded good since about, 94? And I don't like when rock stars act like that. And I've had two of them do it to me. Two people that I was really into when I was a teenager after I got into radio and came to Bend. And both of them did it in this market. And I'll tell you the story about Bobby Blotzer from Rat someday. It's a good one. We had some fun with him too. And it was at the same station. So actually I might get into it today. Who knows? But anyway, so it's easy for me to get sidetracked because there was so much cool shit going on during this period of my life. When I moved to Bend, being a radio guy on the popular morning show, it was fun. It was really fun. And we had Casey and Ron over at the Twins were our competition, but I've loved those guys forever. And after I was done at X94, I ended up being their neighbor, and I'll tell you about that. But X94 was not unsuccessful. It was actually very successful. We had great numbers. We were consistently running neck and neck with the Twins and the numbers. The issue was, at that time, Bend was small, like 40,000-ish. And they were not able to sustain that format. We were playing Metallica and Korn and, you know, the stuff of the day, rock stuff from 70s through what it was current in 2002, 2001, that era. And honestly, the local businesses couldn't wrap their brains around it. They couldn't see how they could benefit from being attached to a Metallica song. Because this is a uptight white, especially then, this was an uptight white hillbilly country town. And even at 40,000 people, it was tiny. It's still small. I mean, honestly, you can walk around this town, and if you're here long enough and you have any knowledge of the area and stuff, you can tell it's small because you can't go anywhere without running into people you know. We're over 100,000, and I still see people I know everywhere I go. So it's got that small town vibe, that small town feel. And at that time, they were just not courageous enough to advertise with us. So our numbers were great. We had all the listeners, but they decided to discount those listeners and whether or not those listeners were valuable. Well, hell yeah, those listeners were valuable. There was a lot of them. You know, we were reaching thousands of people. But you can't teach an old dog new tricks. You just got to get a new dog. And that's what ended up happening after several years. So I was at that particular company doing the X94 thing. I was a program director. I learned so much there. They put me through my paces because they were horrible at what they were doing. They didn't plan ahead. They weren't, you know, it was a nightmare. But it was a fun nightmare. We had a good time. It wasn't long after that finagled a way to lay me off after that format flip. He basically used the format flip to lay me off. And that was a gut punch because I had so quickly gotten into radio. And you got to remember, within 9 months of me being in radio, I had gone from barely knowing anything about it, begging for an internship in Portland, to running my own station and hosting my own morning show. That doesn't happen that way. And so when it fell apart and went away, that there was shell shock. There was a moment for me that I felt like a complete failure. Well, and it gave me a blessing. Here's the best part about that part of my story. So my wife and I had our first child, Chloe, in Portland. When she moved down here with the baby, Chloe was 6 months old. And so at 6 months, Chloe moves down here with her mom, and we all, start living together again because I was coming down here and living for 3 months, pretty much just me by myself, living with my friend Jason, and my wife and the kids would come down, or I would go back to Portland on the weekends for that whole period of time. And then gradually I was able to get us established, get us a place to live, and she was getting out of her job up there and moving to a new job down here. So there was a transition there. And then here's the great thing. The layoff that happened from X94, they did it 3 days before my second kid was born. Yeah, well, of course they knew. It was 3 days. My wife's been to all the Christmas parties and stuff, looking like she's ready to have a baby. So, so my second child, Ryan, was born in February. So we'd just gone through all the holidays. We'd been around all these people. They knew she was pregnant, and they laid me off, got rid of me 3 days before before Ryan was born. So that was a big gut punch, but it was also you don't have time to screw around, dummy. So that one, I could have gone right back into radio, and I didn't. I didn't want to do what I needed to do that. I wanted, at that point, I wanted to be a rock and roll DJ, and I was going to be on a rock station, or I wasn't going to be on a station, blah, 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 blah. So, but that attitude actually worked out to my advantage and the advantage of my relationship with my children, because for 2 years, I became a stay-at-home dad. Played in my bands on the weekends around here. I had quickly established myself in the music scene here. And I had formed a band called Bad Influence, and I'm going to play a little bit of a track here in a minute for you. It was a power trio. We were playing around quite a bit, probably 2 to 3 times a month we were playing. So I wasn't without any income, and my kids needed me. My wife works she's a historian, and right now she's the executive director, and has been for 17 years, of a county museum here in Deschutes County. And she had started, when we were here, she worked at a place called the High Desert Museum as their curator, or collections manager. So she had the better job. I mean, even if I would have went back into radio, she was making more money than me. So it made sense for us, given daycare costs and all the things at the time, for me to be at home. And man, I wouldn't have traded it for the world. So I did the stay-at-home dad thing for 2 years. Loved it. Great time. I have a phenomenal relationship with both my kids now. They are 25 and 22 almost. Ryan will be 22 in a couple weeks. And I wouldn't have the relationship I do now if that whole thing hadn't happened. So it was a blessing in disguise. And you got to remember that. I had so much trouble because back then I wasn't tuned into that. I was a lot of self-pity, a lot of pissing and moaning in my own cornflakes, if you know what I mean. So I got back into radio probably in 2003 or 2004. I hired on at a company called Combined Communications. This is where the aforementioned Casey and Ron were on the air at the Twins, the classic rock station here in Bend at the time. Now they're the only real rock station in Bend. There's a couple that keep chasing their coattails, but the Twins are doing it right. And so I was on what I would call a soccer mom station. It was Clear 101.7. We played a lot of Dave Matthews and John Butler Trio and Dylan and, Bruce Springsteen, John Cougar Mellencamp, that kind of stuff. Stuff that soccer moms dug at the time. And it was so much fun. It was great. It was a great job. At first I was the midday guy and music director or assistant music director. And then I ended up moving into the morning show with my boss's wife, and it was David and Dory, the David and Dory show. And we had a lot of fun. Dory is like my big sister that I never had. And that's the dynamic we had on the air that was fun, because I was at that point 35 probably, and she's 10 years older than me maybe. So she was more the motherly big sister, oh, David, what are you doing? The things that would come out of my mouth, she would have the appropriate aghast reaction to, that kind of stuff. And she was brilliant, just so funny and fun to talk to. A huge music lover, did so much for local music here at the time. She had a show on the station called the Homegrown Music Showcase that all of us musicians benefited from that were here then. And they are now in Idaho doing radio, and I visit with them every once in a while, say hi online, that kind of thing. Hi, Doug and Dory. So that was my next move in radio. All the time I'm in radio, I'm going along and performing with my bands and such. And around the time I'm on the air with Dory is when my band and I release an album, and it was called The Ride. And one of the cool things about this album and what happened with it was that we were able to get the title track on a soundtrack to a TV show produced by Warren Miller. Now, you may not know Warren Miller's name just when I say it, because it's kind of a regular name and no relation. Just another Miller in the world. But he did all the snowboard movies and skiing movies. He was like a early pioneer of those films, and probably one of the biggest names in that industry at the time. He'd put out 2 or 3 snowboard and ski films a year. And then he started doing just adventure films in general, not just focused on, the snow sports, but all kinds of sports. And he had produced a show called Epic Conditions for the Weather Channel. And it was basically crazy people doing crazy sports in horrible weather. And that was what the whole series was based on. It didn't last a long time, maybe 2 seasons on the Weather Channel. And now it's shown around the world, I think, in different markets on certain TV stations and stuff, because every once in a while I still get a little money because they use the title track from this album in an episode about crazy people that take their plastic kayaks down frozen rivers and waterfalls. It was very exciting, and the song fit really well, but that seems like a really, really strange thing to do. But let's check it out. This is that track, The Ride. It was on Epic Conditions, and also on our album titled The Ride. Isn't that a great picture? Bad Influence. It was a really fun band. My best friend ever in the world, probably, Sean Wells, was the bass player, and Maynard Hull was on drums. Maynard still plays in bands over in the Valley, over in the Salem and Eugene area. And unfortunately, we lost Sean Wells at a very young age. He was about 38 years old and lost his life to a disease he had had for a long time. And big hit to me as a musician. And it took me a while to get my feet back under me after he passed. But that's him playing bass on this. This is The Ride from my band Bad Influences. Came out in 2007. So that's Bad Influence and The Ride, my band from 2007. People used to stop me in the bars and shows and stuff and go, dude, the police sirens on that song scare me in my car every time. And I laugh and laugh. So that was a fun time in my life. That album is available on YouTube, also on Amazon and those other places. Spotify, I think you can bring it up as well. It's one of 3 albums or two full albums that I've put out in my lifetime. And good stuff. It's fun. It's fun to look back at that stuff. And occasionally I put together a rhythm section and teach them some of those songs, and we play them live just for fun. I'm in a band that doesn't do those songs now, a different band I'll tell you about later. But so when I was in Portland, I wanted to share a couple of things with you. I like to embarrass myself once in a while. Why not, right? Why not? So I brought out some embarrassing photos from the past. Yes, everybody loves that, right? So here's a couple. This is Victory Gin. This is the first band on top there, the first band that I formed or joined in Portland, Oregon. That's Rob Slavic on the far right with the dark jacket. He was the bass player. Trent Walker in the striped pants, drummer. And Ken Ricker is the guitar player there. And that's me on the left in a lot of denim, people, and a rat t-shirt that you can't really make out. But that's what burgeoning rock star Dave looked like. This was like maybe 4 months after I moved to Portland at the most. And then that one on the bottom is from probably 2011, 2012, something like that, at a fair here doing the radio thing. And if you're at a fair, you got to make a stupid picture with a corn dog, right? Well, apparently I felt like I had to. And here's some more stuff. I had another band after Kid Wicked. So last episode, we saw the video of Kid Wicked on the public access channel, and we all laughed and laughed. It was great. So this is the band I joined after Kid Wicked. This is called Mr. Rattlebones. And that's me on top there, singing my heart out. And in the bottom picture, my good friend Brian Copeland is in the white baseball style jersey on the far left. Next to him is Chris Olney. Still really good friends with Chris. He's the bass player there. Rod Hardison, and he's a guitar player. Still friends with him. I like letting people know that I'm still friends with these people because bands break up all the time. And there I am on the far right with the great farmer's tan and the long hair. And the guy crouching is someone we don't still talk to, named Jerry. So this was a fun band too. We did some of my biggest shows at that point happened with this band. I didn't. This is the first band I played to probably 400 or 500 people or more. So that was a big point. Big moment for Dave there. You know what I'm saying? So there's a little tidbits about what was going on here in Bend. And so I got out of radio permanently about 7 years ago. I taught guitar for a while at a local music school. I've had so many jobs over the years, it's ridiculous. And I've gotten to where now I don't worry about that kind of thing. If you define yourself by your job, you're going to be miserable. I swear to you, you're going to be miserable. There's no other way around it. Because eventually your job won't matter in your life or other people's lives. If I was so invested in radio that I felt like I had to stay in it, I would be miserable right now. I would be horribly miserable right now if I were to just do radio. And I loved radio, but radio is not now what it was then, and that's why that happens. And every industry can do that. So don't get down on yourself if you've had a lot of jobs, or if you feel like you need a change, or if you're looking for a way out of the job you have right now. Putting yourself first has gotten a bad rap, and it shouldn't. We should be able to focus on ourselves and make sure we're happy, because we can't make anyone else happy if we're not happy. And so you're never going to have sustainable relationships, long-term relationships, if you are down on yourself. So don't spend a ton of time doing something that's not your calling. And what was your calling can become not your calling. People my age, I just turned 56, we were raised in an era where we were expected to find one job as soon as you could after high school or college and stay there forever. And now, in hindsight, we know that that's stupid. We know that that doesn't work. And yet people are still doing it. People are still stuck in that. My wife and I just had a conversation the other day that people still feel that way sometimes. And if that were the case and I had adhered to that, I probably wouldn't be here today. So many people take drastic measures when they get into a depression, and doing something you hate every day and not seeing any benefit from it will send you there. So find your calling, people. That's why I built this studio in my house. I would rather do this than, anything else. This and music is what I do. So I haven't done radio in about 8 years now. I had several different jobs. I've worked in assisted living places. I've worked in grocery stores. I drove DoorDash for a while. I do what I need to make money. And I don't worry too much about it, like I said, but I have to be able to create. I have to be able to do art. I have to be able to do music. Finding radio, it became another form of creativity for me. So even though that job is behind, technology has allowed me to still have something like that. This is very similar to having radio, but a whole new beast, and it's fun. And I'm glad you're here with me. So that's kind of who the hell David Miller is. I am currently in a band called Super Ball. We play around here in Central Oregon a lot. We're starting to get over in the Valley a little bit more. We would love to get into some other places too, and that's what we're working on this year. But if you're in the area and you get a chance to come see us, I think you would like us because we're kind of fun and we're goofy as hell. All right, that's who the hell is David Miller. And we'll wrap that up. I'll tell you more stories. I got so many stories about my life and such that they're bound to come back up. So we're going to get back into some fun stuff in a few minutes. I'm going to tell you about a new artist. And if you're wondering, who could it be, David? Who could it be? Well, my t-shirt might be a hint. All right. Thanks again to the Northside Bar and Grill for presenting Rockipedia with David Miller. Indulge in the vibrant energy of the Northside Bar and Grill on Boyd Acres in Bend, Oregon. Savor tantalizing food and great drinks from a spirited staff. Sing your heart out at karaoke every Tuesday and enjoy live music, Mellow Wednesday open mic on Wednesdays, and bands with dancing on Thursday and Saturday. Plus football and more sports action on multiple televisions and the Oregon Lottery. Your entertainment is guaranteed. We'll see you there. NorthsideBarFun.com. Hello. Back with more fun. Rockipedia with David Miller, episode 3. Season 1. All right. We are back and we've got another segment. It's one we've done the first 2 episodes as well. I think it'll be a pretty regular segment. I do. But first we want to thank our friends over at Northside Bar and Grill. They are sponsoring us this week, presenting, as it were, the big sponsor package they have. Now, you're thinking dirty. I wasn't thinking that way. NorthsideBarFun.com is where you'll find all the fun over there. And they have karaoke tonight, but not tonight. See, I'm recording this on Tuesday. So every Tuesday at the Northside, you can do karaoke. They also have Mellow Wednesday. So tomorrow night or day before yesterday, when you get this, is a Mellow Wednesday open mic run by my really good friend, Derek Michael Mark. And then on Thursdays and Saturdays, they have live bands. They also have all your football and all that stuff, Oregon Lottery, good food, good bartenders. It's a fun joint. It's my favorite. I hang out there quite often. All right, so thanks to Northside for bringing us stuff. Now, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do Look What I Found. Yeah, that's right. You know you like it. You know you like it. It's new stuff. And this is somebody that I've known for quite a while, but I don't think he's getting his due. So I want to tell more people about him. So guess what? I'm going to tell you. That's right. So this edition of Look What I Found is Amigo the Devil. Look at my shirt. Amigo the Devil. See, I was giving you a hint the whole last segment. He is currently in Nashville, Tennessee. That's his home base. He's been everywhere. He was born in Florida. He spent some time in Austin. He spent some time in California. So he was doing all kinds of stuff. He was going to be a professional wrestler. No, that's not true. That's not true at all. It's not. He was in culinary school at one point. He was going to be a chef. And he's done other stuff. You should check him out. His name is Danny Carranos. And him and his cohorts in Amigo the Devil are his sister Katrina Carranos, Jason Dietz on bass, David Talley on guitar, and Carson Kerr on drums. Christina also performs as another Catacombs. Yeah, she performs and releases her own music as the artist Catacombs. Amigo the Devil is really Danny Carranos' nickname or his stage name. It became the band name when he decided to bring a group of musicians on the road with him. But technically, Amigo the Devil and Danny are one and the same. And he performed for a long time doing coffee houses and smaller joints as Amigo the Devil with just him and his guitar and his banjo and things like that. Yes, banjo, I said it. Now, you may be wondering why an acoustic artist like Amigo and the word banjo is appearing on Rockipedia. And I'll tell you why, because this guy is damn good. Not only is he damn good, he's sick in the head, and I love people that are sick in the head. Because guess what? Yeah, I'm sick in the head too. So Danny likes to write about things that are dark. The seedy side of town, murder, obsessional love, I guess is what I would say. Love is an obsession rather than a healthy thing. He's very dark, but he's also very, very funny. And he's got a lot going on for him. I enjoy the hell out of his music. And I got to see him live this last year. And it was kind of a coincidence for me to see him because I was going to go see the band he was opening for, Clutch. I love Clutch. I was going to go see them anyway. I've seen them before. They were coming to my hometown for the second time. They'd come about a year and a half before, and I wasn't able to go because I was playing somewhere. And so I didn't go see Clutch, and I thought, oh my goodness, I missed my only opportunity to see Clutch in my hometown. And then they show up again, which is great, and they brought Amigo the Devil with them, which is even better. So it was a very cool show, and I enjoyed, actually, I will have to say that Danny and his crew, Amigo the Devil, they stole that show. They killed it. And I guess that I had missed him one other time. He played at a venue I play all the time called Silver Moon Brewing. And during the summertime, they have a really cool outdoor area and a larger stage. And they bring in some bigger names, and we play out there during the summer as well. And he played out there by himself, and I missed it. And I was miffed that I missed it. So it was really great that he came back and gave me a second chance too. And with Clutch, how lucky can a guy get? How lucky. So this, Danny's the guy there in the picture with the guitar. I guess you probably figured that out. He does the singing, the guitar and banjo, and also lyric writing. The songs are written by him. The rest of the band comes on for tours only, and I think maybe they lay down some tracks in the studio when Mr. Danny asks them to, but he does a lot of the instrumentation himself. He's kind of a, they call his style of music murder folk, which, okay. Cool. Why not? Why not Murder Folk? All right, so we're going to enjoy a little bit of Murder Folk with Danny and his crew. I'm going to share two songs with you today. This is the first one, and this is called Hell and You. This is kind of a cool video. I don't know if this is like an official performance video or what this is, but it's cool. You'll enjoy it. Listen to the lyrics because that's a big part of what Danny does. All right.
went to the bar to get a little closer to myself and learn things I never really wanted to know. The walk got a little far, so I got into a cab that smelled like vinegar, stains that showed what's in the girl before. But I want to be where all the stupid shit I say sounds so romantic and true. 'Cause I'd rot in hell with you if you just asked me to. I love the shitty things we do together. Live with me in this sin forever. Hell and you, I know you wanted to. I say you take the shot, see this chance, feel the fire, let me have this dance with you. Well, we take things a little far, but you couldn't name a place I wouldn't go with you. A plane, a train, a car I'd run. If I was dead, I'd float, I'd crawl in bed with you. Even on someone else's blood, on top of someone else's love. And no worse motel we find, 'cause home is the last place that I'd stand to be with anyone but you. 'Cause I'd rot in hell with you if you just asked me to. I love the shitty things we do together. Live with me in this sin forever. Hell and you, I know you wanted to. I say you take the shot, see this chance, feel the fire, and let me have this dance with you. 'Cause I'd rot in hell with you if you just asked me to. I love the shitty things we do together. Live with me in this sin forever. Hell and you, I know you wanted to. I say you take the shot, see this chance, feel the fire, and let me have this dance with you.
All right, so that was Amigo the Devil, Danny on his own in that one, and that was Hell and You. That's a very cool tune. But I've got another one for you that you're really going to enjoy. This one's hilarious, for one thing. So I pulled up the lyric video of this because you have to pay attention to the lyrics. It's got the full band vibe going on, so it's going to give you a little taste of what these guys sound like all together when you see them live. The live videos I've found so far, I wasn't going to share those. Instead, I wanted to make sure you got the lyrics to this wonderful song called Murder at the Bingo Hall. Yeah, I didn't stutter. It's Murder at the Bingo Hall, and this is Amigo the Devil.
It was a quiet night down at the gaming hall. We doubled up on cocaine and Adderall. The room full of smoke and the air so still that I choked when I raised up both of my hands to yell bingo. I was looking around trying to track down who the biggest threat would be. Seeing the fear in everybody's eyes, and apparently it was me. I guess I know I've been coming here cleaning house for the past few weeks. I was B-I-N-G-I-N-G-B-I-N-G-O. From the second I walked in, I planned my attack. 3 packets in hand, I sat at my usual table and back. He might have been calling the numbers, but I was calling the shots. After 4 in a row, I jumped up and yelled, "Someone should call the cops! I'm killing it." Everyone's sitting around like a people garden. Tension builds as the wrap-up nears the end. This dapper is a weapon, sending everyone to bingo heaven. Held back by the numbers I don't have. got right. Everyone's breath was still, and it gave us the feeling in our chest, the tightness, and only losing everything for real. And the game begins now.
That's Amigo the Devil with a fantastic song called Murder at the Bingo Hall. You got to go check him out if you get the opportunity to see him live. You will not be disappointed. I'm telling you that much right now. You will not be disappointed. Thanks so much to my friend, the Home Loan Ninja, Mr. Aaron Myra, for bringing us Look What I Found this week. I always appreciate when my friends help me out, and that's what Aaron did. If you want more info on Amigo the Devil, well, get your Google out and get your Google on, or whatever you use to search. You can find a bunch of really cool stuff from him on YouTube. And I just recently found a video of Amigo the Devil from Red Rocks, and they were opening for Trampling with Turtles. Or Trampled by Turtles. That's what it is. Trampled by Turtles. And it's a very cool video. I almost played it today, but it's like a full half-hour set or 40-minute set, and it's best to take it all in yourself. So I'm going to put a link to all the Amigo the Devil stuff in the description. And in fact, everything you hear me talk about in the show, I'll put links in the description so you can go find this stuff and experience more of it on your own if you dig what I'm doing. And please follow the links to those artists, and follow the links to our sponsors, follow the links to the products that we endorse that I use here on the to create the program, and of course go to our sponsors as well. They'll be in the description of the video. So thanks again to Aaron Myra and the Home Loan Ninja for bringing us Amigo the Devil on this week's Look What I Found. Woohoo!
An Oregon native who transitioned from building high-end custom homes to facilitating dreams of home ownership. In 2005, as the housing market crumbled, Aaron dove headfirst into the world of home financing. Navigating the downturn, he honed his expertise from street-level processes to the sway of the stock and bond markets. His tenacity and knowledge earned him the moniker, the Home Loan Ninja. At Optimal Rate Home Loans, the team understands that purchasing a home is a monumental decision. They've built a reputation on exceptional communication and service, ensuring every client's journey is handled with utmost care. Whether you're looking to purchase a new home or refinance an existing one, trust the expertise of the Home Loan Ninja and his team at Optimal Rate Home Loans. Your dream home is closer than you think?
Rockipedia with David Miller. Episode 3 carries on. See, I told you I would get new music beds. Last week, I was already tired of the first two. I'm still using all of them. I'm just going to build them up as I go. You know how that goes. Rockipedia with David Miller. What time is it? It's time for this little ditty right here. In case you missed it. Yep. That's my take on the latest news in music. And we have some interesting news going on. One of my favorite bands that came out of the grunge era, I don't think they were really grunge. They were just a fantastic hard rock band. Still are a fantastic hard rock band. I'm talking about Alice in Chains. They are doing a re-release, the 30th anniversary. That saying that stabs me in the heart. It's been 30 years since Jar of Flies came out. Remember that album? Great EP. Fantastic. First thing they did after Dirt, first thing to feature a new bass player at that time, Mike Inez, who had moved over from Ozzy Osbourne's band to join Alice in Chains right after Dirt was released. So this is a monumental album. It ended up being the first EP to reach its position on the charts. And that was a #1, baby. So that's pretty cool. The independently produced EP acted as a spiritual sequel to the group's last EP, Sap, which is also great. It features tracks I Stay Away, No Excuses, Don't Follow. We all know those. It garnered the group 2 Grammy nominations for I Stay Away and for the packaging of the album. Now, the packaging of this album is going to be pretty crazy. It includes tricolored vinyl, cassette, a clear variant with flies embedded in the vinyl, and a deluxe box set featuring an EP on tricolored vinyl, a logo embossed jar with fake flies, of course, and a 60-page hardcover book. There's also some other stuff in there. It doesn't end there. One of the packages has a skateboard deck and a plush toy. What? But it is a fine album, and I think you should go pick that up probably. So now we're going to tie in a couple things here. We're going to talk about Mr. David Lee Roth. I think he's going crazy. I'm worried about Dave, actually. Dave has just recently, like yesterday or day before yesterday, I'm recording this segment on Thursday, the 25th. He released a video on YouTube. He does these videos on a podcast style thing. For those that don't know, David Lee Roth was a FM DJ for about a minute. He actually replaced Howard Stern. When Howard Stern left terrestrial radio and went to XM, David Lee Roth was the first one to take that chair, and it lasted about 2 weeks. It didn't last very long at all. But Dave has aspirations for that. So he does what's called The Roth Show, and it's a variety of entertaining videos. I still find David Lee Roth very entertaining, even when he's going nuts. But I'm starting to worry about what's going to happen to his legacy, because for me, he's huge. Huge dude. He was one of the guys that made me want to be in rock bands, made me want to be a lead singer. I stole all my moves from him and David Coverdale when I was back in the hair band. Yes, I had hair band days. So it always bothers me when my heroes or previous heroes do this. And there's a whole rash of them doing it right now. It's nuts, the stuff that people are willing to say in the press anymore and put it out there. So Dave decided to go after Eddie Van Halen's kid, Wolfgang Van Halen. Now, you may know that Wolfgang Van Halen is quite the rock star himself at this point in his life. Wolfgang is in his early 30s, I think. I could be wrong. He may be a little younger than that. But he's a man. He's got a career with his Mammoth WVH band, which is great. They've released 2 albums. And I say they, I should say he. He does everything in the studio. And if you listen to these albums, this kid's got it. I call him a kid because I'm like 900 years old. But and he seems like the kindest, gentlest dude. I mean, he stands up for himself, which I respect. When people do this stuff, I'm interested to see how this washes out, and you will be too after you hear what's going on. But I've never seen Wolfgang do anything but set people straight on the record when they're wrong, which I think is important that we do that. Sometimes probably more than I should. But he's never just gone after anybody. He's never just been a dick for no reason. Dave, on the other hand, has had a tendency to occasionally exhibit dick qualities. So let's check this out. So he decided to spill the beans on Wolfgang for whatever reason. We can't even really tell why he's doing this. It's odd. Wolfgang hasn't really talked much about Dave. He said Dave's hard to get along with and hard to understand why he makes the decisions he makes. But he never has said anything, just out of the blue negative about Dave. On the other hand, Sammy Hagar and Dave have been going at each other for a couple weeks now in the press, and that's always ridiculous when they do that. Both of them are in that list of people that are kind of hacking away at their legacies. Nikki Sixx with the crap they're pulling with Mick Mars, who we're going to talk about in a few minutes. Just so many of them are in the press all the time. Ace Frehley whining about Kiss, and it's just so everybody's aware that he has a new album coming out. That kind of stuff taints the art for me. And this kind of stuff taints David Lee Roth for me. Check it out. This is what he had to say, a little bit of what he had to say about Wolfgang. I'm not going to play the whole thing. You can find it on YouTube. I will have a link to it in the description of this video. So if you want to watch the full 5.5 minutes of it, you totally can. But it's just audio with this picture. And look at him. Look at him. He's so subtle. David Lee Roth, so subtle. So we're going to listen to this little tidbit of the first part, and then you can listen to the rest on your own. This is David Lee Roth and his opinions about Wolfgang Van Halen.
This fucking kid, he's complaining the entire tour like I'm not paying enough attention to him on stage. Like Santa Claus coming down the chimney and popping out on Christmas is nobody paying attention. Shalom to the dome, homie. I'm giving him the best. Everything I've got in front of 20, 30,000 people at a clip, and he's complaining to everybody around me. The business manager, the security guy, the clothing lady.
Dave's not paying enough attention to me.
Cut to New York City. Glamorous, glistening, shimmering New York City, and we're at Jones Beach with 20,000 of my closest friends. I walk out into the middle of the stage, and I'm going to do Ice Cream Man. And I'm testifying to the brothers, Eddie and Al, man, this is how many times we played New York. This is spectacular. And what I don't know is this kid, this schlemiel kid, has commandeered a couple of monkeys to go in back, behind my back, over to the side of the stage, and throw out these two great dames that I invited to be my guests to the show. And these dames are in their 40s, okay? Business women. In fact, you aren't going to believe this shit. Roth Show.
So there's a little bit of Dave's take on Wolfgang. There's more. Like I said, it's 5.5 minutes long, and it really does kind of come out of the blue. It's strange that out of the blue, Dave decided to, even if this happened. Okay, so let me set the scene for you a little bit. Here I am. I'm doing my Quentin Tarantino. I don't know if he does this, but here I'm going to set the scene. He's talking about clear back in the mid 2010s, like 2016, 2017. Wolfgang Van Halen was 17 years old, and he joined Van Halen and played with his father in Van Halen. Michael Anthony was out of the band at that point. All kinds of drama there. But we don't need to go over that. But Wolfgang comes in at 17 years old to Van Halen. That's like Jason Bonham joining Led Zeppelin in 1977. It would have been mind-blowing. And Wolfgang, not only did he do it, he stepped up. He did it with decorum and respect. He's a great player, already was at 17. And he's playing, like Dave says in this video, he's playing to 20, 30,000 people. First time ever in his life. So if he's having some things going on, you can kind of understand. And Dave, being a veteran entertainer, should have taken him under his wing and tried to help him out. And maybe gave him the extra attention since he's a 17-year-old kid, making it possible for you to tour. Anyway, that's my take on him. You should check it out, though. It is worth the viewing. I should say. It's worth the viewing. And I want to share something now with you. Mr. Wolfgang Van Halen, WVH, that is, Mammoth WVH. They got to be on the Jimmy Kimmel show last night. Wolfgang won't let this David Lee Roth stuff bother him. He's just not that kind of kid. He may respond to it. He may not. He may not even respond to it. It's hard to say. But he's going to just let it roll off his back because of what you're going to see here. He doesn't need to necessarily do anything for anybody except himself, and this is pretty cool. So check it out. This is their newest single. I believe it's called, well, you'll see what it's called. Take it away, Jimmy.
This is their album, Mammoth 2, here with the song I'm Alright, Mammoth WVH.
That's good stuff. Wolfgang Van Halen, the son of Eddie Van Halen and Valerie Bertinelli, the actress and Food Network host. Good stuff. He's released 2 albums. He does everything on the albums, and then he brings this band of friends with him and goes out and tours. I'm very excited. For my birthday recently, I got a set of tickets to go see Metallica in Seattle, and that's going to be in August. And one of the nights, it's 2 nights of Metallica. One of the nights, Wolfgang and his band are going to be opening, so I'm excited about that. As far as the David Lee Roth Wolfgang thing goes, I'm team Wolfgang all the way. I love Dave. I do. Classic Van Halen, huge for me. Big. But I just can't... I can't agree with what he's doing. He just comes out of the blue with that, and it's rough. I don't know. If anybody, it makes more sense that he went after Sammy, because Sammy just announced that he's doing basically a Van Halen tribute tour with Michael Anthony and Joe Satriani and Jason Bonham. That's going to be a great show. But it seems like Dave would have more reason to go after Sammy, and they did. They've had a tete-a-tete with each other, and both of them look like idiots by the end of it, which is sad because these are our heroes, right? At least for some of us, it's our heroes. So speaking of people that have been victimized by petty people in their lives, I feel bad. I feel like I'm just going negative here, but it's kind of what's going on with the folks, right? I don't know. Mick Mars, he left Motley Crue of his own volition. He left. He said he couldn't physically do touring anymore. He's had a severe physical disease since he was young. And it's something that I don't remember the name of it, but it is a disease that causes your bones to fuse together. And in his case, his spine has slowly, over the years, fused. So his vertebrae are fusing. There's no cartilage in him, so it all becomes kind of bone-like and stiffens, and he can't bend. That's why you see him all hunched. His back has stiffened into a position, and he says it's painful 24/7 and has been for 30-plus years. And the guy's constantly been touring pretty much all of that time. And so a year or so ago, something like that, he decided that it was too much, and so he wasn't going to tour anymore. He left Motley Crue at that point, and Motley Crue went venomous on him and they brought in a guy named John 5, who is nothing but a nice guy from every account. Everyone that talks about John 5, they're like, yeah, he's a cool dude. So I don't think there's any negativity with John 5 being in Motley Crue. In fact, he will keep them at a status that Mick Mars had them at, and maybe improve their status musically, because he's an actual musician. So was Mick Mars. The other guys in the band, not so much. So they, for them to do this to Mick and turn around on Mick, was sad to see. And they've gone into lawsuits. They're fighting over who, if Mick should continue to get anything out of Motley Crue, which is a band he kind of helped create. Yeah. So there's a lot going on in that camp. But in Mick's case, he is releasing new music. And this is an album he's been working on for, oh my goodness, probably 10, 15 years. It's been in the works for quite a while. And he's got it going now. And he's released 3 songs. The newest one is called Undone. The album is going to be called The Other Side of Mars, which I think is kind of a cool title when your name's Mick Mars, which isn't his name, but it's been his name in the public eye for 40 years or more. So The Other Side of Mars is a fun title for an album. That comes out February 23rd of this year, and it's being made available on Mick's own label, which is 1313. And MRI, the label, is handling the distribution. So I thought we would listen to a little bit of the new Mick Mars. I have not even heard this at all. I haven't played any of it for myself. It just hit either late last night or early this morning. Again, I'm doing this on Thursday the 25th. The episode will premiere on the 26th, which is Friday, tomorrow. So, here we go. Let's have a little Mick Mars. This is called Undone. I like it. Mick Mars laying down some rock and roll. It's got a great melody, good hooks and all the things, and of course Mick Mars is a great guitar player. I really like, and I've always liked the way Mick Mars writes a riff, and this has that going on. That's Undone from the upcoming album The Other Side of Mars. The singer on this is named Jacob Bunton, and he sings on the new albums, has sang on all 3 of the singles at least. I think there may be 1 or 2 songs that are sung by someone else on the album as well. You can find out more details by Googling that stuff. I'll have a link to this song and Mick's website and that kind of stuff in the description. So hopefully you'll check that out. And make sure you use the email. It's rockipediapodcast@gmail.com. Oh, and I want to thank our friends at TIG Tactical. Never be a victim. Self-defense, martial arts training right here in Central Oregon. And they do a bunch of online content too. You can find out more at tigtactical.com. I'll have links in the description. Thanks, TIG Tactical, for joining us. Much appreciated. And they're bringing you In Case You Missed It. So the only other little tidbits I had for you today was Ozzy has announced that he's going to do 2 farewell shows in his original hometown of Birmingham, England, as a way of saying goodbye to his fans. As far as touring, recording, I think he's closing shop. Now, Sharon Osbourne released a press release earlier this week mentioning this. They have not said when these shows will be. They have not said who will be involved, what kind of celebration it will be. But it is something that sounds like it's going to happen, and it will conclude Ozzy's rock and roll career, which he's given us so much of his life. We appreciate him an awful lot. That's In Case You Missed It, again, brought to you by Tig Tactical. You know what it is. It's Rockipedia with David Miller.
Unleash your inner warrior at TIG Tactical Self-Defense School. Master self-defense techniques swiftly, tailored for everyday threats. From weekly trainings to quick-train seminars in Bend, Oregon. TIG Tactical, empowering anyone, anywhere.
All right. So, I've got one more little thing to share with you in this third episode of Rockipedia with David Miller. Thank you for joining me, and I hope you enjoyed it. So, one of the things that I love almost as much as I love music is movies. Yep, I love me a movie. One of my first jobs was in a little one-screen movie theater in my hometown, and that is Lakeview, Oregon, and the theater was Alger's Theater, and I'm so happy because in the last 8 to 10 years, a committee has gotten together, and they're working to restore this theater and bring it back to its glory. It had fallen onto some disrepair, was closed for quite a few years, and they're bringing it back to life, and that means a lot to me. I started out behind the snack bar at this theater back in the day, and it was a really cool job. And then I ended up getting moved up to the projection booth and taught how to do that. And this is old technology, so way back in the olden days, kids, the projectors had arcs like welding does, and you had to keep the light lit in these projectors by adjusting the arcs occasionally and keeping them together to the brightest point. And if your film stopped while that was going, it would burn through the film, all kinds of stuff. So it was a pretty technical job for a 16-year-old kid to walk into. And I learned how to splice film and do all that kind of stuff. So it was a very, very cool experience for me. Paid off later in life, and I'm sure I'll tell you that story someday, that gave me an opportunity to work in a movie. So I have a huge love of film and video and creative outlets like that, TV, all that stuff. So we're going to occasionally do this. Mega Movie News and Reviews. Rockipedia with David Miller. So I will tell you about movie stuff I find out, new trailers if there's something exciting or interesting or something to talk about. Also, any news going on about movies. And then occasionally when I go see a movie or see something on TV or something, I'll review it, let you know what I thought. Not that you care, but, I'm kind of full of myself, and I have a podcast. And I have to have content, right? And I want to make it interesting. So this week, though, I'm launching this segment in a fun way. Because like everything in Dave's life and everything in this podcast, there's a direct connection to why I'm focused on the thing I'm focused on. So, one of my favorite movies of all time is Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze. Moment of silence. Okay. No, really, I love Roadhouse. I think it's just great. Honestly, it's just good. For lots of reasons. Now, my wife, who's been with me my entire Roadhouse life, pretty much. I think we met maybe a few months after Roadhouse came out, and I was already in love with the movie by that point. So her entire time with me, Roadhouse has been a thing. And it's not a thing that my wife enjoys. She doesn't find the joys of Roadhouse like David does. And I understand that. It's not for everybody, just the smart people. No. She's going to kill me for all of this. So there's an ongoing joke in our household that anytime I find any reference to Roadhouse whatsoever, I immediately bring it to her attention. She doesn't have to be in the room with me. If I'm flipping through the channels by myself at home and she's at work or she's off somewhere, and I run across Roadhouse, I make sure I select the channel, and then I take a picture with my phone and I send it to her and I tell her, "You've been Roadhoused." She loves this game. I love this game. So you can imagine that I and my wife are overjoyed at the fact that they have made a new version of Roadhouse. And it stars Jake Gyllenhaal. And Jake is a former, I think he's a disgraced MMA fighter in this situation. And he's still the philosopher. Now, I don't know if you know the story of Roadhouse. You should. It's legend. It's canon. It should be taught in schools. Well, maybe not that far, but so Patrick Swayze plays Dalton, and Dalton is a former psychology student, very intelligent man, very refined for a bouncer in a roadhouse. But he gets paid to go around to bars and clean up bars that are having problems with violence and bad elements and, things that happen in real life. Okay. And he's had some tragedy in his past that has colored his view of the world and made him a loner that doesn't like to get connected to people. We can all connect with that, right? We can all identify with Dalton's struggle. So Dalton gets hired to go to this place and clean up this bar, and that's the extent of that kind of the movie of the original. So in this one, Jake Gyllenhaal is an MMA fighter, also last name Dalton, different first name, and also refined psychological dude. He's a thinker. So they've twisted it a bit, modernized it a bit, gave him a different kind of backstory. But it looks, on the surface, it looks like it's going to be very similar to the original. And I thought we would enjoy the trailer together. It just hit this morning on the 25th. And I got to tell you, I'm kind of excited about it. And so is my wife. No, she's not excited at all. And it's going to be worse for her because it's coming out on Prime Video. So not only can I get it immediately upon its release, but I can watch it over and over again. Can you imagine how many times she's going to get roadhoused? Let's check it out. This is Jake Gyllenhaal and the first trailer for the new version of Roadhouse coming to Prime Video, I think in March maybe. It'll tell us. Let's enjoy.
Before we start, do you have insurance?
What?
Your coverage good? Like, you have dental?
Oh, haha.
Is there a hospital nearby? Is it, like, too far?
About like 25 minutes, I'd say.
I just slapped you. Are you all right?
What?
So you like to fight? You ever win?
No one ever wins a fight.
This ain't the Holiday Inn, pal.
I'll move it.
A friend of mine suggested I come talk to you. I own a roadhouse out in the Florida Keys. Lately, it's been attracting the wrong clientele. I can pay you good money. Judging by your car, you need that.
Well, I like my car.
Think about it.
I know who you are. Elwood Dalton. Big fan, man.
That guy's got a knife under his shirt. You just take a big step back and pop him in the face. You can do it.
Tell me about this bouncer.
Yeah, it's all nice, like he's Mr. Rogers or something, but then he'll haul off. Really interesting guy, overall. Brand wants to take the roadhouse away from me. He wants to build some resort.
I should warn you. People have a certain way of getting things done around here.
Hey, fellas. Looks like you're having a smashing night. Dalton! I got a tip for you. Don't let no one get this close.
Let me guess. Threaten me. Tell me to get out of town.
I get the impression that you can't be threatened. Once Knox is on the job, it's over, baby.
It takes a lot to get me angry, but when I am, I just can't let go. People seem a little aggressive around here.
Is that one in front of yours?
No, I just broke his arm.
See what I'm talking about? My wife's going to love it. Oh, by the way, Kelly, if you're watching this, you've been roadhoused. David Miller, that's Rockipedia for this week. Thanks so much for joining me for this third episode. I always enjoy your company. Make sure you subscribe, hit the bell button so you know when I post new stuff. And visit the links in the description. I'll have links to all the stuff we featured in this week's episode, plus all the equipment I use here in my studio in case you want to set up yourself with a studio. And we also have links to some other sponsors. All of our sponsors' links are down there too. So please utilize that stuff and have a great week, people. Watch for shorts. Oh, we have a TikTok. Go over and find it. I'll put a link down here for that too. All the links. Do all the things in the description, and I'll see you next week on Rockipedia with David Miller.